Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the AM Report with Alex Mahaja for Haps News, the network of now. It is Wednesday, November 4th, the morning after Election Day, and we're going to talk this morning about Election 2020 and what we know. We'd been hearing a lot before this election that it was going to be an unconventional election, that we were not going to have results on election night, and that is panning out to be true. I'll be joined this morning by Rance Collins. He's the editor-in-chief of 800 Democrat to discuss what we know, where we're at, what the state of the race is, and what Joe Biden's path to victory is. This and more on the AM Report. Thanks for joining the broadcast this morning. I'm Alex Mahajer, and I'd like to welcome to the broadcast Rance Collins. He's the editor-in-chief of 800 Democrat. We were on the line watching the results pour in yesterday in our special live coverage for Haps, and he's joining us this morning to discuss the state of the race. Welcome to the broadcast, Rance.
Hi, I've prepared by not sleeping.
I, too, have slept very little. And we knew, so first and foremost, we knew going into this election that it was going to be an unconventional election year because an unprecedented amount of people voted by mail and absentee during a global pandemic. So as the results were rolling in, we were also told ahead of time that it was going to be a bit of what was being called a red mirage, where Donald Trump appeared to be ahead, and that number would change significantly once the absentee and mail-in vote had been counted, and that panned out to be true. Though it does appear to be closer than many people expected. So, Rance, can you give us a state of the race in terms of which states are left to be counted and that are crucial for Joe Biden?
Sure. Well, first of all, there have been some sources that have called Arizona and some that have not. I think anybody who's not calling Arizona at this point is just doing so out of an abundance of caution. But Joe Biden should safely have Arizona, and Mark Kelly should safely win that Arizona seat. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in our column as far as I'm concerned. Nevada also looks good for us right now. The margin looks really, really tight. If you look at the numbers, you may think, oh, Joe Biden's only up by this much. Donald Trump could catch up. The mail-in ballots in Clark County, which contains Vegas, a Democratic stronghold, is basically the only thing left. They've counted the same-day votes. They're only dealing with the mail-in ballots now. And as we know, mail-in ballots tend to favor Democrats, especially in a Democratic county like Clark County. So those two are looking good. After that, all Joe Biden has to do to get to 270 is add two Midwestern states. And right now he's up in both Wisconsin and Michigan. And if he got both of those states, it would lead to exactly 270 electoral votes. Wisconsin, I think, is pretty much set at this point. There's very, very, very little in the way of votes left to be reported. It's just about a half a point margin. It's kind of almost like what happened in 2016, except this time it broke our way. It's going to be a margin similar to that. But I think that we can feel pretty good about Wisconsin. And then Michigan, we are ahead by a smaller amount right now, but you have to keep in mind that Michigan has a lot of mail-in ballots that have not even started to be counted yet, that are just getting started on this morning. And those are largely from the Detroit area, which is, again, a heavy Democratic stronghold. And so things are going to look very different in Michigan. I think we'll end up winning Michigan by a few points. Wisconsin will be a narrow win. Pennsylvania right now looks like a 10-point race, and you're like, oh my gosh, Donald Trump's up by 10 points. But virtually all of the votes that haven't been counted are mail-in ballots, and they're mail-in ballots from Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and those surrounding areas. Right now, we're running so far ahead percentage-wise in Philadelphia that if we get the few 100,000 ballots that are expected from Philadelphia, we could end up with a narrow Pennsylvania win as well, which is what people are thinking is the most likely. They think we're going to get the rest of the outstanding ballot in Pennsylvania about 2-1, which would lead to Pennsylvania. So that's another path to 270 if you didn't get Michigan by some strange coincidence. We also don't have Georgia or North Carolina called. North Carolina isn't looking as good for us at the moment, but I mean, it hasn't been called. That means that they do believe there are some ballots that are outstanding. Also, North Carolina doesn't get all of their mail-in ballots. They don't stop counting mail-in ballots for a week. They let people return mail-in ballots for you have to postmark it by election day, but it can arrive as late as a week afterwards if it was postmarked by election day. So it'll take a while to get a final count out of North Carolina. Georgia, we are waiting for a ton of ballots coming out of the Atlanta area where Biden's currently hammering Trump. And if we get another couple 100,000 votes out of Georgia based on the outstanding areas, that would flip. And that would also probably lead to a situation where we would have 2 runoffs to the Senate for Georgia.
And yes, so what it looks like right now as we enter in Wednesday morning is that Joe Biden has 238 electoral votes, Donald Trump 213. And so Joe Biden's path to victory right now is through the Rust Belts, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But Michigan, as you said, Joe Biden's ahead. But it's really, I think it's actually a disservice to tell people who's ahead and who's not, because these numbers are just not accurate in terms of the counts. We're not going to know until the absentee votes are counted. In Michigan, there's still a great deal of absentee votes to count. And so this is the red mirage. But I think to Mark Goldman's point, he's leaving a comment saying, I feel like the blue wave crashed in my head, and does want us to discuss the Senate and House as well. I think for many people who are rooting for a Joe Biden victory, it's a little bit of a disappointment to wake up on Wednesday morning and not have this massive repudiation of the president nationwide, which is what some people were hoping. And I think that perhaps those hopes were misguided, that we should have been a little more wary of the fact that this is a system, an electoral college system that is not fair or representative and is going to look a lot like a resounding Donald Trump victory. But as it stands now, it's a 2 million, almost 3 million vote spread between the two candidates, with Joe Biden earning more votes nationwide.
Joe Biden earning the most votes of any. He every vote he gets from this point forward breaks the record for the most votes ever received by a candidate.
Right. He's got more than 69 million votes, and that number will continue to climb. So it's a historic turnout, but I think people are disappointed that there's not a more massive repudiation of the president, even if there are paths to victory. I'll note that the Arizona flip is the first flip of the entire election from 2016, and that is a red to blue flip. But let's talk a little bit of the Senate races, because there's a lot of talk about the Democrats retaking control of the Senate. Last night, John Hickenlooper unseated Republican Cory Gardner in Colorado, making it the first Senate flip of the night. And then Doug Jones in Alabama lost his seat to Tommy Tuberville in Alabama, which was expected, but requires that Democrats net 3 more seats and the presidency in order to take control of the Senate, or to win 4 more seats. Where are we at with the U.S. Senate? There were a lot of disappointing losses last night. I know Jamie Harrison lost his race against Lindsey Graham in South Carolina. That was a race that was a lot of heavy donations to hit Jamie Harrison. People thought he might unseat Lindsey Graham. So that was a disappointment. And in North Carolina, the race is too close to call, and Cal Cunningham is the Democrat there, who people anticipated would flip that seat, but it's looking very, very close. So our eyes are on that. And then the two special elections, the two Senate races in Georgia, which will go to runoffs because the vote, we know they will go to runoffs because no one achieved 50% of the vote in those Senate races. So Kelly Loeffler versus Reverend Ralph Warnock will go on to a runoff election, and then David Perdue, Republican, and Jon Ossoff, Democrat, will go off to a runoff. So the control of the Senate is still in balance. But what of the remaining Senate races do we know?
Well, we know, I feel very confident saying that Mark Kelly has won Arizona, even though not everybody has called that race. So that would give us 2 Senate seats. We needed 3 if we win the presidency to get that 50-50 split, with Kamala Harris being the tie-breaking vote, if you wanted to look at it that way.
A net 3. We've got a net 3.
Yes, a net 3.
So because we've lost in Tommy Tuberville and the Alabama race, that puts the math at needing to win 2 more Senate seats.
Yes,
and Joe Biden and the Joe Biden presidency.
So this is where Georgia is going to become very important, because the only other Senate race that we have a possibility in right now is Susan Collins up in Maine. Okay. And unfortunately, she, even though Biden's winning quite handily in Maine, Susan Collins is getting a lot of votes in Maine, and the only real hope there, I think, is if we pull her, if we keep her under 50% in Maine, that triggers a situation where they have to recount, and then the third-party candidates are taken out because there's a ranked choice voting system in Maine. And so that's about the only chance we have, I think, in Maine to pick up that seat. I'm not very confident about that. So that would mean that the only path to getting majority in the Senate would be if things that are looking good in Georgia right now, if Jon Ossoff is able to keep David Perdue under 50%, he still would technically lose the race, but if he keeps him under 50%, which he's almost doing right now, or pulls him under 50%, I should say, that goes to a runoff. And then we would have the special election that's already going to a runoff, and we would need to pick up both of those seats.
Okay, so that's the state of the race. And all in all, it's going to be a waiting game in terms of the results. And we got some comments saying, let's see, people chiming in from abroad, from UK, letting us know that they want to know when the election will end. We have no idea. These votes need to be counted in some of the most sophisticated absentee ballot sorting and counting software. It counts about 1,000 ballots per hour. So if you're considering that millions of people voted, this could take days and maybe even weeks.
I will say honestly, I think that we will know by this evening who won Wisconsin. We will be able to project at least, or at least have a very good idea of who won Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania by tonight. That's my prediction. And
okay,
if we have that,
okay,
yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking for like a North Star, just know that we should have enough results in from those places by the end of the day.
And if we don't, that's okay. We're going to wait till every single vote is counted. That's because we are a democracy.
Yeah, of course.
And every vote should be counted. So however long it takes, I'm trying to caution people to just be patient, take a chill pill. We we prepared for people on our side, prepared for months going into election night that we may not have results on election night, and that it would appear to be a more red map. So everyone take a chill pill. Votes are still being counted and sorted out, and it could take longer than today. But Rance, believes we could have definitive results, at least that indicate the winner by tonight. So let's keep an eye out on that. A question from Brazil. It's really a statement from Brazil saying your electoral system is really crazy. Here in a third world country, we use like urns to vote and biometric authentication in the electoral zones. We've got a right-wing viewer saying the electoral college is fair. It's the system we have. Of course, people say that when they benefit from it, but it is not a fair or representative system. It was conceived in a time where the country was majority rural and disproportionately allocates voting strength to people in rural areas. A voter in Wyoming has 3 times the voting power as a voter in New York. One man, one vote should be the law of the land. And even if the electoral college was changed so that it was apportioned differently. So let's say in Texas, Joe Biden wins 47% of the vote. Donald Trump wins 49% of the vote. Right now, each state's electoral college votes are apportioned winner takes all, which means all of Texas's electoral college votes are given to Donald Trump when really it should be proportionate to the percentage of the win that the candidate took in the state. So Donald Trump should really take 49% of the state's electors. I think there's a lot of problems with the electoral college, and here we are again with the minority of the country appearing to have a lead. Well, that's not right. I'm saying a minority of the country is appearing to have a lead, and that's not true.
A narrow
Donald Trump
lead.
has more electoral college votes than Joe Biden does. Sorry, Rance, what were you saying?
And let's keep in mind here, we have won, I think it's safe to say, we have won the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 elections. And we have only won the presidency. If we win this time, it will be the 5th time.
Right. A commenter saying it ends when some. What was that?
I was doing math in my head and having problems.
Oh. A commenter says it ends when someone reaches 270 electoral votes. Neither has that now. That's absolutely right. Someone thinks you're dreamy. Every vote matters, says Pauline Walter. We got an award from Lucia. If you're watching this broadcast and you're enjoying it and you're on the HAPS platform, give us an award. Click the little award button and let us know you're enjoying it, or leave a comment and we can read it live on air. Lucia Ibar, comparing the last decades of Brazil's politics isn't the best example of the moment. New Tesla, so it's Biden. Overlord says, thanks for the info, guys. We don't know. New Tesla, we don't know if it's Biden. Biden has more electoral votes right now and is winning the popular vote. There are 3 crucial states left to be counted, and Arizona has flipped into Democratic control. That's what it appears. So all in all, there are still paths to victory. If Joe Biden were to lose a state like Wisconsin, he could still win if he wins in Georgia, and Georgia looks to be very close. And we did win the congressional district in Nebraska. That could also be a crucial state to watch if this comes down to a 269 to 269 tie. So all in all, we still have a lot to wait out and see, and we may know more by this evening, or it could take a couple days, but we're keeping our eye on it. I want to thank my guest, Rance Collins from 800 Democrat. Rance, where can people find you on 800 Democrat? I think you're muted.
Ha! You can find me personally at Rance Collins on the Twitter. And you can also follow 800 Democrat on both Twitter and Facebook.
Very good. This has been the AM Report with Alex Mahajer for HAPS News, the network of Now. We are live every weekday morning at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Eastern, with all of your quick political news and headlines to get your day started right. If you like this content, you can give us an award right in the broadcast on the HAPS app or website, or you can visit me at haps.tv/@Alex to subscribe and sponsor this broadcast. Maybe buy me a cup of coffee, because I stay up all night watching election results for you. Thanks so much for joining. We'll be back tomorrow morning.